still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA. Online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original Rock and Roll Geek, Michael Butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Tonight, I have an interview that I did last Saturday afternoon with pop star Tiffany. That's right, Tiffany. You're saying, why is the Rock and Roll Geek Show hearing an interview with Tiffany? Well, a little backstory. My friend Tim Binder, who used to work for Century Media back when I was in American Heartbreak, he has gotten me a lot of guests either for the Rock and Roll Geek Show, and he's gotten me a lot of people when I worked for Mevio as well. He's become a friend of mine, and he contacted me and said, hey, I don't know if you're into Tiffany, pop star Tiffany, but she's got a new album out called Pieces of Me, and it's kind of a rock album, and she's a rock fan. So I thought I would offer it to you, and on the Mad at Dad, not the one that just posted today, but the previous one, or it could have been the one before. I think the previous one, though. It doesn't matter. The subject came up that, hey, I was offered an interview with Tiffany. I thought it was a good little conversation starter. And we went on a 40-minute tangent about Tiffany. And we listened to songs from the new album, which not exactly my brand of rock, but it's not a bad album. She's got a great voice. She still looks good. She's like 47 or something like that now. Anyway, so we listened to a little bit of the album, and we both concluded that, the album's not bad. It's pretty good, and it might be interesting to hear pop star Tiffany on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. So Tim contacted me because he listens to Mad at Dad as well, and he could not believe that we had gone 40 minutes talking about Tiffany, and said, I'm going to line it up for you. So we went back and forth on dates, and he sent me some links to some information and stuff. And one of the links he sent me, which is also something that Bo Gus in the Rock and Roll Geek Facebook page, which I did not create, but I do approve people. You just have to answer 2 questions, so I know you're not a Russian hacker or a Iranian informant. Anyway, where was I going with this? Anyway, so one of the things that Tim Binder and Bo Gus sent me was a link to this movie called I Think We're Alone Now, which is about 2 obsessed Tiffany fans. And I watched that before the interview. That movie was disturbing, to say the least. One of the guys had a restraining order against him, and the other one was a transsexual person who was kind of not all mentally there. Neither of them were mentally there. One of the guys, the guy had Asperger's, and probably the transsexual did too, and she seemed a little bit dangerous. The Asperger's guy didn't seem so dangerous, but he had a restraining order against him, and anyway, that was one of the things Tim Binder sent me, and he also sent me some links to some interviews. So I watched all that the day before I did the interview and thought of some questions, and I kind of had a direction I wanted to go with this thing. I figured, how can I make it interesting for listeners of the Rock and Roll Geek Show? So wrote down some questions, and I got Tiffany on the phone, backtrack a little bit. I was supposed to receive a phone call at 2 p.m. on Saturday, so I rushed home from fishing. Let me take a sip of this fine Pacifico that I'm drinking tonight. Rushed home from fishing about a little bit after 2. I got a call. It was Tiffany's representative. It said, oh, hi, I'm going to this is blah, blah, blah. I forget the person's name. It's a very nice lady. I'm going to patch you into Tiffany now. I said, okay. And I'm thinking, uh-oh. This is a bridge call. So she patched me into Tiffany. The sound quality from Tiff, she was calling from backstage, I think backstage at the venue she was playing on the East Coast. The quality was not good. And, I could have said, hey, this is not going to work because the quality's not good. I need you to call me back on a hard line or whatever. I did not do that. I tried to make the best of it, and so what you're going to hear is an interview that has It's a little muffled and a little bit of a bad phone reception. And anyway, I thought I would have a conversation with Tiffany because she was willing to talk about anything, according to Tim Binder. Well, so we talked. She was very nice, extremely nice, very, very talkative. But I have to say that this is not one of my shining moments as an interviewer on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. Because Tiffany was in promo mode, so everything we talked about, all of the answers ended up with her new album, Pieces of Me, which is fine. She's promoting the album, but I wanted to make it more of a conversation. She was in promo mode, so it didn't go quite as I had hoped. Hopefully, it's not as bad as I'm thinking as it might have went. And another thing, we got disconnected partially through the interview. I'll probably just keep that in there and let you hear it behind the scenes. And about 50 minutes into the interview, her representative chimes in and said, "All right, it's time to wrap this interview up." And I don't like when that happens. It kind of bums me out. It kind of has a cattle call feel to it. So I made the best of the situation. Tiffany was a very nice woman. She still looks great. She was extremely nice and polite. I think she might have been a little bit nervous being on a rock podcast, a rock music show, because, she's known as a pop star, and I think she's trying to shed that image a little bit. Well, yeah, I don't really know because she's on tour with New Kids on the Block and Debbie Gibson and Salt and Pepper, but she's promoting this album as a rock album, so I think she's, which is why she came on the Rock and Roll Geek Show, I think. So anyway, I appreciate Tiffany coming on, and I appreciate Tim Binder for thinking about me for the interview, and I even appreciate the representative who cut me off and told me I had to wrap up the interview. Hope you enjoy it, friends. The Patreon people will not be charged for this episode because I don't know. I just feel like I probably shouldn't. I should probably consider this a bonus episode. So if you listen to this all the way through, I appreciate it. I understand if you listen to a little bit and decide it's not for you, but hope you continue to be a friend of the Rock and Roll Geek Show and continue to listen, friends, despite or how well or bad this interview went. I got a feeling it's not as bad as I think it is, but just in case it is, that is as Casey Crenshaw did, as me on the last Rock and Roll Geek Show episode, apologizing in advance for everything, whether it needed apologizing for or not. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, friends, I hope you enjoy the interview with Tiffany, pop star Tiffany. And by the way, I think we're alone now. She's always had a good voice. I like her raspy voice, and she's very cute. She's always been cute even when she was a little pop star girl. But she did she had a #1 hit with Tommy James and the Shondells song. And if you're not a Tommy James fan, you're not a fan of good songwriting, friends. So that's one thing she had going for her. And the album Pieces of Me, not a bad album. I closed out the show with the new single called Beautiful. And I'm just going to go right into the interview now and just let it speak for itself. Thank you for listening, friends. If you donated to the show, I'm not going to mention you today, but you know who you are. And I appreciate it because without your donations, this show would die a horrible, putrid, stench-filled death. It's value for value. You know what that means, friends. So hopefully you get some value out of this one because the donations are a little low. I appreciate it, though, friends. All right, enough of my yapping. Oh, little insight. One more thing, and I'll get into the Tiffany interview. One more. You might hear me giggling a couple of times throughout this interview because she has the gift of talking. All right, just a little note. All right, friends, here's Tiffany. Hope you enjoy it. I'll come back at the end of it and say some parting words. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you for coming on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I really appreciate it. It's nice to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Did they tell you that you were coming on a show called the Rock and Roll Geek Show?
Yes, I saw it on the memo.
And when you saw that on the memo,
I love it.
Did you want to fire your publicist?
No, I thought it was a cool name, actually. I was like, oh, do tell. What's going to happen?
Okay, good. I saw you about 10 years ago. I was at the Gay Pride thing in West Hollywood. My friend BB Buell was playing, and I think you went right after her.
Oh,
you remember
that? Cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that. That's really cool. Oh, yeah, Nashville, right?
Sorry, no, this was in Hollywood. Oh, yeah, she lives in Nashville now, yes.
Yeah, she does live in Nashville. Oh, Hollywood, maybe, yeah. Oh, gosh, that was a while ago, though.
That was about 10 years ago, I think.
Yes, my goodness.
Well,
time flies fast.
It is nice to talk to you. Now, my audience is more of a hard rock audience, but I heard that you like rock and roll, so maybe this will go better than you
totally.
expect.
Awesome. Love it.
How?
Yeah, you should have gotten the new album. I wish they would have sent the album because you could have heard it.
I have heard it. I've listened to it about 20 times.
Oh, you did? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I can drop one more name, my friend plays bass on that album. His name is Johnny Martin.
Yeah, love him. Yes, he's wonderful. So I'm very, very, very excited that he's on the album.
When you did this album, did you put together a band, or did they just did somebody give you some musicians, or how did you?
No, my producer Mark Alberici put everybody together really, and suggested a lot of players, and of course I was yes, and yes, because big suggestions were awesome.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and then I'm currently using his band for a lot of my live stuff. The Killing Floor. So, popping in a few other Nashville musicians, and off and running we are. We've been on the road, for about a year now, and we'll still go off and do 40 more dates after, off the tour now that I'm currently on, the mixtape tour. And so, yeah, lots in the works, and I'm very proud to have all these guys in my life.
So can I take it back to the beginning, do you mind?
Sure.
How old were you when you first did your first singing gig?
Oh, gosh, first singing gig. I must have been about 8. And it was just something at the fairgrounds at the Del Mar Fair in California. And my dad, I've been singing a little bit in the house and stuff like that, especially if I got into trouble. They'd say, go to your room. Well, that was just practice time for me. So, and then from there, kind of my stepfather thought, she's just loving singing. And I was a dancer, so I was already in a lot of dance competitions and things like that. So I wasn't shy. But, singing, I really only did it for the family, but I would do it all the time. I mean, it was like, we're trying to watch TV now. Please go sit down. So,
so you wanted to sing, or did you wanted to sing, or they pushed you? You didn't.
No, I wanted to sing. I wanted to do all the dancing. I did pageant stuff before that. So I've been a big ham for a long time and an extrovert, and I just loved it, and I loved the dancing. And then I was singing all the time. I mean, I've been singing around the house since I was literally 3.
Are you an only child?
That was my first song. Well, at that time I was an only child. And my mom just was like, okay. And I wanted to like record myself on my Fisher Price and everything. I was kind of pushy in that sense, and I have recordings of it. It's hysterically funny of me singing Devil Woman, and singing Delta Dawn, and doing guitar solos and stuff like that, all like, all getting into it.
Uh-huh.
So it's hysterically funny. I actually released an album. It was just a project for fans, kind of like a little bonus package, and that's called Mimi's Kitchen. And you can hear me throughout the years in my grandma's kitchen. That's why it's called Mimi's Kitchen. That's what we called her, Mimi. And you can hear me from 3 until I think I was about 12. And some of my earlier demos, some of my writing demos now as a songwriter that didn't make the light of day on a certain album, but it has Devil Woman on it when I was 3 years old, which is magical. So it's hysterically funny. But that's kind of kid I was. And my stepfather thought, well, it's okay that she sings around friends and family, but what if it was somebody she didn't know? So he took me to the Del Mar Fair, and I had no clue, but then so there's a little girl out there in the audience watching us, and she wants to get up and sing something. Her name's Tiffany, and I just jumped right up. I was like, what? All right. And I got up there and I sang Delta Dawn, and that was it. I was completely addicted.
Delta Dawn, Delta Dawn, the Tanya Tucker hit. Do you still remember?
Tanya Tucker, yeah.
You still remember how to sing that tune?
Oh, yeah. Da, what's that flower you have on? Yeah, hello, yes.
So people,
I love
so people loved you when you. Do you remember the name of the band that you got up and sang with? Were they just a cover
it. Was
band?
all cotton. I sure do, because I had a
Well,
crush on the singer. His name was Jimmy Cribb. I thought it was just so awesome.
and what were they
He looked
called?
like a long Jimmy Cribb, and the band was called Paul Cotton.
Paul Cotton. Okay.
And Jimmy had long black hair, really, really good-looking guy. So, I was like, yes! And I did a lot of shows with them. I started doing my first kind of making the tour rounds and opening up for Mickey Gilley and Johnny Lee and a bunch of other people when I was 9 and 10. So, and I performed with Paul Cotton. And then I had another band that I worked with called the Hoedowners. And so that was, it was amazing. I think the Hoedowners actually gave me my first real gig where I played like the VFW. And I used their band, but I was the listing. It was Tiffany Renee. So, and then they were my backing band.
So you were doing country music, all country music back
I
then?
was doing country music at the time, yes. And I loved it. I mean, I grew up listening to traditional country, a lot of Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. And so that was kind of my base. But then by the time I was like 10, I was listening to my cousin's records at her house. I would go there for the weekend. She'd go and stay with her girlfriends, and her mom was my favorite aunt, so I would go and stay with her. And she would let me go in my older cousin's room and play the records, play albums. And that was when we used to frame the whole 9 yards, frame the album, put it on the wall. I'd take them down and read all the liner notes. And that's really where I discovered Stevie Nicks and Heart. I had already been listening to a little bit of like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that through friends. But I just sat in her room on the weekends and just absorbed that type of music. I mean, it was so different from what I listened to at home. So then I started to ask my parents if I could incorporate like Fleetwood Mac, if I can incorporate maybe some Heart songs. And my mom was open to it. I mean, they didn't want me to really change from being a country singer. But, I kind of slipped in a few things in there that I thought I could work out with my parents. But, my plan was really always to do something that was a little more rock and roll. Because I was so guided to those women, being strong females, strong vocalists, being very, very an individual in the music industry and fronting a band and just what all of that looked like and it seemed to entail. I was like, yes, that's what I want to be. So, I started singing, more hard rock stuff after, going to Nashville in between that.
They were covers?
And trying to get I did some covers. I mean, my parents took me to Nashville at 10 and 11 trying to get a record deal. I had my first manager, and that was more country. But they were trying to find material with me that was appropriate. And at that time, it's all about, Stand By Your Man, and I was in a field, and, and the hardships of life, and I was only 10, so that wasn't going to happen. And, that kind of failed in Nashville. But we didn't move there. We just kind of would go there for weeks at a time, and I did a lot of work with a lot of country artists at that time, and we just kept trying to further my career. But it didn't, nothing happened, and we went back to California, and that's when I met other producers there. And there was a little shift in my life where my mom actually had to go to rehab, and my stepfather moved to Oregon and took my sisters. By that time, I had baby sisters that came along, and my real father came back into my life. He's always been in my life, but I lived with him and my grandmother. And so that was a whole new set of dynamics because other people reached out to me who had worked with me and pursued, they wanted me to pursue acting and commercials and all the stuff that, you have to do to be discovered in LA. And I loved all of that. I went back to acting classes and did more dancing classes and did a lot of modeling work and did some voiceovers and all this stuff behind the scenes when I was only 12 and 13. And through that, I actually, ended up meeting George Tobin, he was in the studio in Burbank, California. So, and I was, again, recording demos. I was trying to record some demos at that time, and I reunited with him because I'd met him before when I was doing country stuff. And it came full circle again, but, I actually befriended his son Dax, and we stayed in the know, and then he found out that I was recording some rock stuff, which I was working with a different producer at the time. And again, the music was getting great feedback. I mean, if you just played the music, everybody was completely into it. But then when you said my age, they were like, okay, that's not going to work.
And how old were
We're
you?
going to do this. Well, I mean, my first rock demo that I started doing was about 13, right before I got the record
13,
deal.
okay.
And then that's when I met George right before my 14th birthday, and in October, on October 2nd. And so, you know, he was like, I don't know anything about country, but I know everything about pop music, and, you know, do you know the Beatles, and do you know the, and I was like, yeah, you know, and so he, you know, wanted to work with me, and by that time again, my mom had come back into the picture, and she was a single mom, and I moved back in with my mother, and, you know, try to help her get her life back together, you know. So there was a lot of dynamics there. And then I started working with George. You know, she definitely said yes to the contract, and it was just me and my mom really starting out with George Tobin. And, you know, I sat down and started playing other songs, and I was like, oh, okay, these are okay. You know, and then that's when he played me, I think, for Low Now, which was totally different. You know, it's all children behave, and I was like, oh, no, what's this?
Do you remember?
What are we doing now?
Do you remember what the contract was? What kind of how the contract was? Was it a good contract? I mean, was it in your favor? Or?
Well, I mean, no, it wasn't in my favor. You know, I mean, years later, there would be a lot of, you know, rumors about that George took advantage of me. You know, that it was a lot that he was my producer and my manager. So there's a double standard there. There's kind of hard to be both, really. So there was a lot of things that early on, I think a lot of these laws have changed now. But at that time, they were acceptable. So, I mean, you know, the way that George has always looked at it is what I made her successful. Who cares how I did it? You know, as whereas a lot of other people looked at it, yeah, but you made 75% technically, you know.
Oh, you made 75%.
Well, it was, I mean, I think those are some of the numbers that people came up with, you know, and it's like, well, you made 25% as a manager and 50% as a producer. There you go, you know. And she's like, well, yeah, but somebody else is going to do these jobs anyway. I'm right for her. Why don't I just do it? George had a lot to talk about on that issue, and he still thinks he's right. Me, I'm just a kid in the middle going, I don't really know, you know, what everybody's talking about. And money to me has always been great, but it's never been my motivation for doing music.
Right.
So, you know, for me, I was more having issues with George at the time about the music. I mean, you know, obviously I didn't want to record I Think We're Alone Now, which I'm glad I did because I wouldn't be here. But, you know, I've always had this vision of, okay, you know, but we'll start to progress into something that I really see myself.
You didn't want to record. You didn't want to record I Think We're Alone Now because why?
I didn't want to record I Think We're Alone Now because I thought it was too dance. I was worried that it wouldn't show me as a singer. I was worried that I'd get stuck in the dance market, although I listen to an array of music, and I'm influenced by a lot of people. For me, that was just so off the path. I was always like, people won't know that I can sing. And so that's why we found songs that could have been all this time. It showed my range. But even then, I got, you know, I don't think I was taken seriously. I think they thought George was manufacturing me. So, I mean, that led to many years of me trying to show people my talent. But, you know, I wasn't really wrong, even though I'm so grateful for the song. And I love singing that song, believe it or not. I don't get tired of it. I've reworked it a million different ways. The current way right now, the rock, it's perfect. And I'm just loving that. And I'm glad that I, you know, recorded it, of course. And then I was pushed to record it, you know, like, hey, you're 14, you don't really know everything, let's just do this. Because even before I sang the song and actually recorded it, I took it home. I took the demo home a little bit, like, you know, this is a bummer, this isn't what I'm really thinking, but I will give it a try. And I will tell you immediately, my girlfriends were dancing around in their room, like going, I love this, you know, sing it again for me. And I was like, okay, well, it does bring a lot of happiness to people for whatever reason. So, you know, I went back into the studio and recorded it, and the rest is where we're at. But,
you know,
I think that I wasn't, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. You've met Tommy James, right?
I have. Well, he's lovely, and I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times. I actually officially have not met him.
Oh, okay.
But I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times, and he's been really awesome and very encouraging and, you know, chuckling about the song and I think that I talked to him right after I did. I think Ramona went to number one, and then Moni was right after that by Billy Idol. So it was, I think there's just a lot of great stuff going on for him, and finding, these songs land again, and a whole new audience loving them. I mean, he sounded very happy about it. So it was great, and he's fun. He's a fun guy to talk to. So, again, for me, I love the songs that I've recorded, and they are part of my heart. But, I was kind of bummed that I wasn't really on the path that I had thought or envisioned all those years, even as a little girl in my room, and kind of felt that was my starting platform. So, I've been able to create a lot of different music over the years and stuff, but to be now in this time period and to be doing the music I love and to be working with the people that I'm working with, I feel the most proud right now, and I'm just kind of feel like we're just cranking up the wheel a little bit to get started on a lot of stuff that has been, in the making for a long time. So it's a great time for me right now. I am all smiles. And, like I said, I wasn't wrong to feel like I wouldn't be classified as a dance artist or to be kind of not valid. And it's taken me a lot of years now to rework that whole system and that mindset and how I'm portrayed, But, a lot of it is I've grown behind the scenes. Sometimes it's gotten frustrated. I've gotten frustrated because I'm just like, will it ever happen? Will I ever be able to really find the right people and do what I'm doing in my head and, and be looked at as a touring artist and to be taken seriously, and people get to know me and get to know what kind of musician I really am and my thoughts, and I run my own business and how much I'm committed to music, and how I've grown up behind the scenes. So, it's great now to be able to tell my story. But I think I had to do all of that stuff and get here. Sometimes we try to rush it because we just want to do it. But truthfully, if I have to be honest, all of this stuff before I got here had to happen, even for my songwriting, the album pieces of me, what I'm writing about. I wouldn't have had all of that had I not lived, on the fringes and had mistakes and breakups and, bumps in the road, definitely. So it's definitely, life has made me a better musician, and now it's interesting that I'm able to show it all at this time.
That first album sold, I'm guessing it sold several million. It sold a shitload, right?
Yeah, the first album sold, I think, 10 million, 11 million.
How much?
The second album, there's been 17 million albums.
Do you know how much money you got from that 10 million album seller?
Well, I got a lot of money from that. I was able to, buy a house and do things. And I've been able to, make it work for me through so many years. And also just having my career, that's been,
put you on the map
right there, Yeah, put me on the map. So I've, been working that for 30 years now. Some things have been great. Some things have been like, why did I do that? But for the most part, it's been really great. I look at all of it as a really experience. There's things that I would have changed, or maybe been a little bit more devoted to.
And
but you learn that through discipline and stuff. Again, I think, there's been times, especially with this project now, I say, okay, look, we've had a couple, strikes at this a little bit. We've done The Color Silence, which was in 2000. I did in a critically acclaimed album. Billboard and Rolling Stones and all these people came out and were like, yes, this is a great album. And I didn't see that one coming, and it was, awesome and wonderful. And then I just didn't have the right team to work it because I am an independent. And then I think we worked the project to a certain amount until you get those hits back. And then everybody just kind of went, and even the label, I did have a label attached to that. And they were very lukewarm. I think if there's anything I've learned in the music industry, it's wishy-washy labels, wishy-washy people, wishy-washy. If they're wishy-washy from the very beginning, you have no leg to stand on. I had all these wonderful experiences. Yeah, I had a label that was on Color Silence, and then they pretty much had their own problems. They had to, file for bankruptcy and all kinds of stuff, especially with the province. I don't remember the label often. It was an indie label. So, but there were a bunch of executives a lot of from MCA, this label I used to be on. So they were really, they had experience, but they signed too many people, and then they just ended up not being able to fulfill. So I was stuck with my project, and here I have all this wonderful, publicity and all these people saying yes and amen, and then no label really, and then my team was small, and it gets hard, it gets hard to keep pounding that pavement and go, well, this is these songs are great. Wow, this should be on the radio. Wow, we were testing a song called Within My Eyes, and it was doing great. Until the industry, really, before even the people, they would go, I can't play that, though. That's a Tiffany record. I'm not playing Tiffany record. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not, that's more of a different genre for it, and I don't know, this is like, and they either didn't get it or they just didn't want to be a part of it. And so it was really frustrating, and it's been very frustrating, but,
there's nothing
now
you can really do about that.
Yeah, I think you have to man the course, though. I think that's what I've learned out of all of these experiences. I think that we got a little like, oh, okay, well, that can't be done. And over the last 10 years, I've watched a lot of my idols, and I've watched a lot of people, and I've just watched a lot of documentaries. And the truth is that I've learned, this can be done. You just got to man the course. You got to stay with it. So, and I think, definitely a lot of the people that are in my life now are lifers. And it helps to have people that are not project-oriented, but more people who are living music and are committed to music, committed to touring and the whole lifestyle. Then you have some people who release an album every 5 years or something. It's a different mindset. So, for me, I'm in the right climate right now to be at my best and to look even back and go, oh, wow, that's why that didn't succeed. That's why that didn't succeed. Wow, I failed there. Wow, that was really good. Let's apply some of that here. It's a new experience. And I think, I am starting to really put a lot of that experience into what I'm doing now, and seeing some of it really work and knowing where my boundaries are, just from my, again, life experience. So, it's, when I say that years, 30 years I've been doing this, it's like, it's a big number. But I do see 30 years of experience coming to me now, which is kind of amazing, really. I think a lot of people are like, wow, I didn't expect that from Tiffany, and had a really fluid conversation with her, and she's got a plan and a vision, and she's doing it, and she's committed, and I'm committed to touring. I've got another year of touring.
So you're still on tour with the New Kids on the Block and Debbie Gibson and those other people, right? I
am. I'm loving it. It's great to go out and do, I think we're alone now, believe it or not. But again, it's just so amazing that people respond to the song, and it is a great feeling, and I'm very proud.
Where are you on that bill?
Just being Tiffany, Yeah. I'm sorry?
Where are you on the bill? Or do you go on before New Kids or after?
No, well, it's a mixtape tour, so that tells you something. So we're all throughout the whole show. They just kind of scramble the artists, and it really is a great night of music. So, you can't leave the venue because you will miss someone. But of course, the New Kids have me come on right after them. I'm the first one up. And the wonderful thing about it is not just reconnecting with the boys, but also is that, before I sing my ballads, could have been in all this time, I had no clue. But Donnie and the boys put together this wonderful tribute that plays every night for me. I'm going to cry. And I haven't really dealt with it yet because, a lot of people don't know that I actually I helped start the music a little bit in the sense that gave them their break to go on the tour,
You took them out on their first tour, right?
Yes. Well, the first night that they came in and they just signed with my agency, my agent, and that's how it goes. You get signed to an agent, they start to put you out there for exposure, and then you drop a record, and you hope to do all of that together. So, but you got to get out there to the people first, and that's what they needed. They needed a break, and I think he saw a Karen there, but I don't think he expected me to go, well, you got your tracks tonight, why don't you just go on? Because they don't have an opening act. My manager wasn't there, that was George. And my girlfriend, my best friend, used to travel with me on the summer, so I'd have somebody my own age. And we literally just were like, hot, 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 hot. This is not a problem. And the music was great. And they could do, all the choreography and everything. And I thought, this is a no-brainer. I've got all these girls out there. This is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I just went ahead and put them on the show that night. And again, that's, probably my country music mindset, which I was raised to say, hey, you only get one shot. Somebody asks you to sing. You don't think twice about it. Sing, whether you have guitar or piano or whatever. You sing and you shine and own it. Because you may not be able to get that back again. And really, it was their willingness to do that, because a lot of other artists could have said, "Oh no, well, we're not ready. We don't have the right outfits," or "Oh no, we want to talk to your manager first," or "Oh no," a bunch of excuses. But they were like, "Okay." And when I heard those screams out there, I knew I had done something great, But I mean, the truth of the matter is, later on, I got into a lot of trouble from my manager. It was like, "You don't do these kind of deals. These are business deals. You just don't." And now, of course, it does look successful, so of course they want to be on the tour, and I think that he had reservations, which at that time was definitely true. To say it's not true would be, just, a problem, not to point out the elephant in the room, that you can't compete with 5 guys.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a lot of girls out there in the audience. So by the former years, as the years went on, it kind of shifted a little bit. But so did my music, and I think that was the biggest problem, was some of the music by the second album. I was really fighting with my manager, and I wasn't loving what I was doing. And when you're not loving your music, there's no amount, for me, there was just no amount of money or fun or going to other places, not sharing the right music for me.
Well, kids, their tastes change, so it's not has nothing to do with you. But back to this tour, is your band with you on this tour? Or are you singing the tracks?
No, everybody's singing the tracks on this one.
Everybody,
so,
all the artists are.
Everyone,
including new kids.
Back. Including new kids, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tons of other surprises that if a band was there, you wouldn't be able to pull off this type of show. So with, there's a lot of visuals, there's screens, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of, reminiscing like me, of playing the video and the greatest moments of my career and stuff like that. And like I said, for me, they do this big tribute of saying thank you, which is beautiful.
Well,
and
thanking you for giving them their big break.
For giving them the shot, because a lot of people might not know the story, and so that's pretty much what they tell the story and then say thank you. And I can't really deal with it. Like I said, I was going to cry because the truth is I try not to look at the screen every night, and I really haven't seen it straightforward, because I have to go out through these mega ballads. So I'm like, oh, please don't make me go into cry mode before I have to sing. But it is lovely, and I'm really appreciative of all of that love and affection out here, and it's great to be with the boys again, and we get a little chuckle out of it. And then Deb's here, and and it's nice for all of us to just be around each other and work off of each other, and and to reminisce a little bit, and to be out there every night with 15,000 to 20,000 people.
I would think
it's a great feeling.
I would think that you would go on after Debbie Gibson, because I thought you were probably more successful than Debbie Gibson, right?
Well, it's not really that kind of tour. It's not really like a starter, like an opening and then the headliner. It's more we're all intertwined, and I think that me coming out first is appropriate more because. And
then they join you, and then you come back, and then you leave the stage, and then you come back and join.
Well, they are one. There's 2 stages on this tour, so there's one at the back of the venue and one at the front, and so the audience is in between. And so the new kids come on the we call it the main stage, and they come up on the main stage, and then they go off, and then actually they end up at the second stage because they do this whole thing. They do about 5 songs before me, so they work all the way down to the other stage, the second stage, and where they work all throughout the venue, and they bring fans up and they're singing to them, and they kind of work in the middle of the venue. It's a really great show. It's got a lot of energy.
Are these arenas?
And these are arenas, and then as they exit the other stage, I come up from underneath the ground on the main stage, and then start, I think we're low now. Oh, okay. And then Deb comes right on after me on the other stage. So it really is like a ping-pong ball, back and forth to these different artists, which is really cool. I think the energy every night is electric. It really, and I don't mean to use that because of Debbie probably hits in my brain, but it really is. There's this feeling, there's this great feeling every night when we get in that venue. I mean, the other night, and there's been many nights, that it's so loud, you can't even hear yourself singing. They're shouting and singing and clapping and, just having a blast, which is a nice problem to have, where you're like, I can't even hear over the audience. It's crazy.
Sure.
But, it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question to ask. Well, I put out to the listeners that you were coming on the show, and somebody said, I get several questions, and somebody sent me a link to this movie called I Think We're Alone Now. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. I haven't seen that movie.
You know about that movie?
Yeah, I do. I don't really comment too much about it because it's not something that I really, acknowledge. But I mean, yes, I know of it. I haven't seen it.
I watched it last night.
I do feel like it's creepy. People have told me it's really creepy.
I watched it last night. It was disturbing. It was. I know I don't even want you don't want to talk about it. But it was strange, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, you have me commenting on there, but I mean, people that were doing the movie didn't work very forthcoming of what they were planning. So of course, I'm on there being interviewed. I think it was in Santa Rosa, California, and they appeared to be film students, and wanted to know if I would just talk about the music industry, and I said, of course I will. And then we got into some, stalker area and stuff like that. And I really didn't know where that was going, but I kind of thought it was just, okay, this is a different side of the music industry, and wanted to talk about it lightly. But then later found out that, they were putting together this whole movie about, my experiences with stalkers. And
it was more about these. It was
not cool.
It was more about these two people than it was about you. It was about these two people who were obsessed with you. I don't even think that you're in the movie being interviewed. There's just some footage of you at a fan show.
Oh, so they didn't. Okay, well then that's good because
I tell you, man,
I really don't know much about it, to be honest with you. I've heard about it. Some people have commented to me, but I have not thought it out.
That must be strange having stalkers.
Well, I mean, it's just part of what we do.
Well,
it's gotta look at what look around you and say. I mean, it changes your life a little bit. Yeah, I'm never alone as far as that kind of stuff when I travel or anything. No,
it's not you who should be the one that should be afraid, because looking at these people, I'm not going to harp on this too much, but just an observation I had. The people who are around you, like if these people, they think that you're with a guy and they get jealous of your boyfriend or something, those are the people who should be scared, like your boyfriend and stuff.
That's it, yeah.
It was.
I mean, this is not something that I really think about too much.
It was
like I said, I've taken precautions, and
the movie
it was always a learning experience.
It was just a strange movie. I just thought I would. It was
sure
really
it was.
a weird movie. Did you sue your parents?
I'm sorry?
Did you sue your parents?
Well, that was part of the whole emancipation that I was talking about a little bit earlier, with all the dynamics of my teenage years or my young years being in the home life. There was a lot of chaos. And, when I got a record deal and was going on the mall tour and, then coming back home to still dysfunction. So, that wasn't great. I couldn't really, for me, I wanted to go and live with my grandmother, which was much more peaceful.
How old were you at that time?
I really wanted to. I was 15 at that time, 15. Or maybe 16 at that time. So, we're just finishing the mall tour, I believe, and, I started to tour more. And then it got harder. It got harder to come to a home that none of the rules had changed. And, and I couldn't really be the person that I was expected to be in my family, which was very strong and kind of the leader of the pack, even though I was a child. And so, that was just, I couldn't do both. I mean, for so many years I lived like that with, being there for my mom emotionally, because she was an alcoholic and she had a lot of things to work through. So, I will say that, all throughout all of that, my mom ended up getting sober. But that's when she went to rehab, and then when she came back, and we thought everything was going to be fine. But there were so many other things that you have to work through, communication and changing your life and looking at things differently. It's a process. So for me, I really just wanted to go and live with my grandmother, and my mom was just not okay with letting me go. And instead of how do you say that to your child? No, I'm dependent on you emotionally, but that's really what it was.
Okay. You didn't sue him because they were...
she was still... No, and that's the thing, is that I never got a chance to really say what my heart was. The attorneys got involved, and my stepfather got involved, and again, at that time, that was like a nightmare because we didn't get along, and, he portrayed himself not well in the public eye, and, again, there was a lack of communication, and just, I think it, takes, fame, and you have all these things, now you have money, and you have people that don't even know how to handle that stuff in real life, let alone mega amounts of money and fame. So it just heightened this whole situation. And somewhere in that, it got out like, I was just too big for my britches and trying to sue my mother and didn't care. And that was really far from the truth. I ended up getting emancipation with a guardian, and I ended up going to live with my grandmother. So, that was a good thing that came out of that, and I still was in contact with my mom, and there was a lot of hurt feelings over that because, again, things were said that I never wanted to expose from my family. I never wanted to paint my mom as like an alcoholic and not incapable. But
now, keep in mind,
and you have.
Keep in mind, Tiffany, I know nothing about all this, so you're talking.
Yeah, well, when you have media and you have lawyers, and they're interested in keeping the bill going, you get people in a war, and it's a fight, and somewhere you get caught in all the middle of it. And me being young, I didn't even know that's what was happening. My mom really not knowing, that side of the world as well. And I think it snowballed into something that was really ugly. And I've always kind of try to go back now and tell the story that, this was never me saying I hated my mother or I didn't love her or I'm too big, for this family and now I'm spoiled brat. No, it really was way more simple and basic,
Well, I just figured that maybe
played out in the media.
I just figured that maybe you sued your parents because they took all your money or something like that. I don't know anything.
No, there was never really, money was always like thrown out from attorneys or from people other than me. I've never been worried about, and I have no problem with helping my family. I have no problem with helping anybody. To me, there's enough money. I will always hopefully make money as long as I'm healthy and smart and willing to do it. So, I never really looked at, the money that I had as, oh no, that's mine. It's just how I've always looked at it. But when you get attorneys involved and you get, people that are going, yeah, well, no, I am about it, the money. This is my job.
Right.
So, it's a different mindset. I still feel that way now, even as an adult. I love to make money because you need it, but, I definitely do things from my heart more, and I proceed from there. So, I think if it's successful, then you get rewarded for your hard work. But you should always try to help other people out, definitely. I've been very, very, thankful over the years that I've been able to help my friends and family. And by I think we're alone now, in that early success that I could go out and earn money off of it and do touring and then bring stuff back and spoil people and love people and share it with people. It's very important.
Did you play with Camp Freddy?
I did. It was an awesome experience. I was late to the rehearsal.
What song?
And I tell you that day, I sang Pretty Vacant, which was really cool. I'm a huge Sex Pistols fan. Huh. So I was practicing all the way up, and I tell you that day, coming from Orange County, California to Hollywood is always it's only about 45 miles, but in California,
it takes forever.
Freeways. That's like 45 days. So, it took me over 2.5 hours to get there, and I was running late. And I remember pulling into the Roxy, I believe, and my makeup artist was there, and my agent was there, and I threw the keys of my car, and I said, tow it, sell it, I don't care, take it away. I'm never going back there again. That was such a draining experience trying to get there. And I kept hearing people, they kept calling me saying, you've got to get here, I know I've got to get there.
You were late?
I was late, yeah. I set out plenty of time from where I located, but it was like all odds were against me. It was the craziest thing.
Did you make it to the gig?
Traffic, and I made it to the gig, but I walked in when Dave Navarro was saying, okay, we'll give her a couple more minutes, but if she's not here, and I went, I'm here, and I go walking up to the stage, and, this is me as a diehard, and just, I hate being late, and I just felt so awkward, because it's my first time meeting everybody. that I didn't even look at the sides of the stage at all. I just climbed up the stage to Dave Navarro's seat.
So you never rehearsed this? You
As a
didn't?
good tomboy that I am. Oh, no, we rehearsed. And I was like, I'm here. And he was like, yes, you are, you know. And so the funny thing was he said, you know, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm late. I'm prepared. But, you know, I came from Orange County and this. And he looked at me and goes, well, you're not going back there before the show. I said, oh, no, I'm never going back there again. I'm never going back there again. I'm buying a house around the corner. Actually, I'm never. And he started laughing at me because I was so frustrated. But it was great. It was a great night. It was great to jam with those guys. And, you know, that was really the first time I think that, you know, I was able to do something more in the rock community. And I think people were like, oh, whoa, she can sing.
Yeah, that would be
okay,
pretty.
Trip.
I don't think anybody ever doubted that you could sing. I'd be pretty cool seeing Tiffany sing a Sex Pistols tune.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was, you know.
You ever think? You ever think of doing a record? I mean, a true, like, hard rock or punk rock record?
Well, I think that's kind of where we're tapping into now.
Well, yeah, it's a rock record, but I'm talking
the
more.
Pieces of Me is a rock record, but as we have been talking to a lot of the fans, which I'm a big believer of doing the music in front of people, so we're already riding on the bus and doing things like that in advance to the next record. And the one thing that's kind of come back is more of that punk sound, which, you know, I love, frankly. So, you know, the first single off this album, Pieces of Me, is called Beautiful. And it definitely has that punk element, that retro element. You know, it's got a little sass to it. It's got the guitars on it. So, you know, it's grounded and stuff like that. And it's got the edge. But that's, I think, where we're tapping into more for the next record. Just because I'm loving it, first of all. And secondly, you know, people are responding to it. And it's something that, you know, nobody is doing really right now. And it's, you know, kind of my own little sound, my own concoction that we've made up, myself and my producer, Mark. And, you know, and I think that it's, you know, this is where probably I'm going to start to live a little bit and around this, you know, around this body of work. So we are in the back of the lounge, actually, of the bus when we're writing more punk songs. It's funny that you're saying that. And having a blast, you know, and we'll pick and choose what goes on the album. And, but I'm really looking forward to recording in Rockfields next month and going there, recording where we recorded Pieces of Me. And being there, you know, there's a magic there, and it's in Wales. It's the studios in Wales, and there's, you know, it's where Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded, and on and on and on and on and on and on. So the walls could talk. You can feel the vibes there.
You're recording in Europe or in England?
I am, yeah.
Do you
I do most of my recordings there.
Do you live there?
I live there part-time, outside of London. So, yeah, I love it there. It's great. I mean, I really feel like it's, you know, almost to some degree like it's my first home, really. I don't like being that far from my sister's kids, the twins. I call them crazy, because they're only going to be 5. And Aunt T is everything, and I love being with them. But, you know, for business and for me and just where, you know, I feel guided to be, it is more in the UK. And you know,
where's the other home?
Go ahead.
Where's the other home?
Well, the other home is in Nashville, which I don't see too much, and that's where, you know, my family is and everything like that. My son and my sister and her kids and my friends, you know, and I love it there. I do love it there, and I love my property. But, you know, definitely I'm moving to California is on the horizon for me for just a minute and spend more time in California right now. So I've kind of,
I would suggest
I used to go
against
UK,
it.
Nashville. Now I'm doing California, UK.
Yeah, I would suggest against moving back to California. I live here, and it's.
I know, but for what I want to do and where I want to go, I mean, you just can't. You got to do the work. You know, you've got to mingle. You've got to be around the right people. And I used to be the person that I just really didn't respect that, and it didn't really do me any favors. So I think I've had my time that I've stepped out enough that now I need to go back in and. There's so many other things that I want to do, my cookbook, lots of other things musically, you know, with different TV shows and things like that. And the place to do that is LA. And so many of my friends have, you know, production companies. And, you know, we've all really worked at the ranks, and we're just now seeing the benefit of all of that. So it'd be kind of crazy not to pair with some of those people. But it really does take hands-on work. That's what I'm learning more, you know, as being an independent. It is hands-on. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You've got to be, you know, committed. you've got to be hungry, you've got to sell your passion, and you've got to have a plan. So, that's kind of what I'm doing now, and that plan right now includes California for a minute, but I don't know if I'm coming back, put it that way. But,
You have people
Hey,
find...
Michael.
You have...
Michael, I'm sorry, this is Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Michael, this is Elizabeth. And Tiffany, she's got another appointment at 6 o'clock, so we're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay.
So you can, ask one last question.
Yeah,
then
okay.
she's out.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay, so you're writing a cookbook?
I'm writing a cookbook. I'm a foodie as well. There's lots coming out.
How much of the cookbook is finished?
Probably about 30% maybe. And I would like to go over to the UK. My girlfriend's got a kitchen to die for, and I want to do all the photos from there. So yeah, there's a plan, and then hopefully it'll be out before the Christmas. It's not a Christmas cookbook, but it's something that could be, for my fans. I'm just going to start there and have a limited edition for fans, and then I'll start to talk to other publishing companies and stuff like that. I think I just need to have something tangible and show my commitment there as well. And there's a lot of other things in the works for me. I have my own podcast coming out next month as well.
Oh, yeah, what's that called?
Pieces of Me.
Pieces of Me?
Pieces of Me.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm very excited because that's all things TIFF, and that's going to vary from day to day. But it's always going to be about being on the road. What happens in my day-to-day life on the road, because literally I'm on the road for the next year. So, you won't get too much home life in that, maybe here and there in a studio, obviously, but it's mostly on the road and, the good cast of characters that I meet on a daily basis.
Okay, Tiffany. Well, I will buy the cookbook because I like to cook, and I will...
Well, thank you.
You're not a vegetarian, are you?
I'm not a vegetarian,
okay,
no.
Good. Okay, good. I'll cook the meat dishes that are in the cookbook.
Awesome. Well, you'll love my chicken dish, I hope.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure I will. All right. Well, good luck with the album Pieces of Me. And did you finance this yourself, or you got people backing you on this thing?
No, this is all self-funded by Tiffany.
Ooh.
By me. I'm doing all the hard work.
Oh,
yeah.
the pressure's
so
on.
It's all good. The pressure is on every day.
Well, I hope you don't go broke trying to promote this record, because you know how the record business is.
Well, so far it's looking pretty good. So I'm very happy with everything that's going. And that's not really the main focus. The main focus was really crack ground and something that I wanted to do and I love so much, and where I see myself in the next 12 to 15 years, hopefully, doing the stuff that I've waited so long to do. So that's really the motivation, is just to get out there and build a larger audience and show people that I'm a live touring audience, or artist, and secure that kind of future for myself. So it's going to take some hard work, but I think we're seeing some very positive outcome from the hard work from all of my group and everything like that. So we're a team TIFF, and we're doing it and we're killing it, and it's great.
All right. Well,
I'm very encouraged.
All right. Well, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good luck with the album, and have fun on the rest of the tour.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Tiffany.
Bye. Bye.
Well, there you go. When a publicist comes on in the middle of the interview or telling you it's time to wrap it up, what are you going? Well, Tiffany likes to talk. I'll tell you that. All right. Well, I hope you could hear that too well. The connection wasn't great, but it was nice to talk. She's a nice woman, nice looking too. And yeah. Well, there you go, Tiffany. All right. Let's close out with the single from Tiffany's album, Pieces of Me. How about that? Or should we do that? Or yeah, we'll do that. I'll open up the show with a different Tiffany song, but we'll close out with the single from Pieces of Me. This is called Beautiful. Thank you for listening, friends. I hope you enjoyed this. Well, a little bit out of the rock and roll geek wheelhouse, and if it seemed like I was interrupting her, it's because, like I said, Tiffany likes to talk, and I probably could have walked away from the microphone and she would have probably continued to be talking, but nice person, that Tiffany. All right. Thank you, Tiffany, for coming on the Rock. She didn't have to come on a crappy podcast, but she did, and I give her all the props in the world for that. All right. Here is Tiffany. Beautiful. Thank you for listening, friends. Rockandrollgeek.com is where you can find the show. Rockandrollgeek@gmail.com is the email. Find me on the Facebook, R&R Geek. Find me on the Twitter, R&R Geek. Find me on the Instagram, Rockandrollgeek. Don't ask. And we will talk to you very soon. Please keep the donations coming, because without your donations, this show would die a horrible, putrid, stench-filled death. And it's a value for value. Did you get any value from that? Well, just think of how uncomfortable I was bringing up a movie about two people who stalked Tiffany. All right? Give me at least, the balls of that should at least be worth a donation or two. All right, friends. Thank you for listening. Here's Tiffany. Beautiful. I'll talk to you soon.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.